This presentation of Hawaii on the Hill is sponsored by Hawaii State FCU. Dream more.
Tonight, President Barack Obama laid out his vision for the next 4 years.
Stronger families, stronger communities, a stronger America. It is this kind of prosperity, broad, shared, built on a thriving middle class, that has always been the source of our progress at home. I do solemnly swear.
KITV4 was there as our Hawaii-born president took the oath of office. His second term comes at a time of tremendous change for our state.
I think in the past we've all been spoiled because we all could say, well, Senator Inouye will take care of it, or Senator Akaka will make sure that that gets through. You can't do that anymore.
Tonight, we give you an in-depth look at our delegation, the four that make up the new leaders of Hawaii on the Hill. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yunji Denise. Politically, Hawaii is at a crossroads in uncharted territory. For decades, we've relied on the two Dans, Senator Daniel Akaka and the late Senator Daniel Inouye, to represent our interests. Now we have a new delegation, and that brings with it a new dynamic. 4 lawmakers pledging to work together. That togetherness might be tested sooner than later. 3 of the 4 could wind up running against each other for the same Senate seat. How do they move forward? How do they balance cooperative leadership with their own aspirations? And what does it mean to us? Tonight, we delve into the challenges that started day one for Hawaii's fresh faces on the Hill. On the night before Barack Obama would take the oath of office, steps away from the White House, Hawaii's who's who was dancing the night away. And in this crowd, the 3 women and 1 man of our congressional delegation.
Let's welcome them now. Aloha no to Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Yes, Congresswoman Gabbard. Senator Brian Schatz. Senator Brian Schatz. Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa. And Senator Mazie Hirono.
The energy exuberant in this moment of what will be many side by side.
What is it like to be all together?
You know, hopefully it's just what's going to happen in the future. You know, we are going to have to work together and be together for the best interest of Hawaii. We've got enormous shoes to fill, and the only way I think we're going to be able to do it is by each of us recognizing each other's strengths and weaknesses, and together trying to be everything that we can for Hawaii.
Now, none of you are shy. Is there a leader of the pack?
I'm the oldest.
Colleen said it exactly right. It comes down to we have to be unified. We're a small delegation, but one of our strategies over the last 30 or 40 years was to always work together, and that's what you're going to see in this delegation.
Each of us brings a unique voice, a different set of assets, different committees that we're on, and we will work together because we're all here for the same purpose, and that's serving and fighting for Hawaii.
If all of the other states' delegations could have the kind of diversity that our small but mighty united delegation has, I think we'd be able to make a lot better choices for our country.
Senator Hirono got it right. Our delegation is nothing if not diverse. 3 women, the first Asian American female senator, the first Buddhist, the first Hindu in Congress, one of only 2 female combat veterans ever elected, and an accidental senator. Let's meet each one. At 65, Senator Mazie Hirono is the oldest with the most Washington experience, first elected to Congress in 2006.
Do solemnly, sincerely, and truly affirm.
She's held office for much longer. The Kaimuki High School graduate won a state house seat back in 1980, though her passion for politics began as a student at UH, protesting the Vietnam War.
I became friends with the activists here, the leaders here, and then we decided, well, we don't want to just be protesting and marching. We need to be thinking about how better we can affect change.
Already, she's changed the face of the Senate, the first Asian American female and the first Buddhist senator. Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa is another familiar face, a lawyer who rose from state senator to Senate president, the first female in that post, a local girl from Waianae with a no-nonsense attitude and that big smile.
I think it's being more than anything else comfortable with who you are and realizing that it is when you are comfortable with who you are that you can do the people's work.
At 31, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is the youngest of the bunch, but already boasts a long resume. Before even winning her seat, the Democratic Party recognized this two-time Iraq War veteran as a rising star, inviting her to speak at the National Convention in Charlotte.
These days, it's often women in uniform, moms, wives, even grandmothers who deploy and leave their families behind.
Gabbard is still an active Guard member and plans to continue serving while in Congress. And here's a headline. After just 2 weeks on the job, the Democratic National Committee tapped her to be the party's vice chair, an unprecedented appointment for such a junior lawmaker. But by now, she's used to being a trailblazer. Gabbard is the first Hindu elected to Congress and one of only 2 female combat veterans, the other Hawaii-born Illinois Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth. Call him the accidental senator. Brian Schatz didn't intend on being here, and how could he? The sudden death of Senator Inouye took everyone by surprise, and so did Governor Neil Abercrombie's choice of his lieutenant governor over Inouye's stated choice of Colleen Hanabusa. On the afternoon of December 26th, Schatz was appointed to fill the seat.
I've appointed Brian Schatz as the next United States Senator from Hawaii.
Just hours later, Hawaii's now senior senator was boarding Air Force One. What was that night like? You flew on Air Force One, and there you go.
Wild. Congratulations, Senator.
It's been a wild, non-stop ride ever since. The father of 2 young children now splitting his time between D.C. and Honolulu. And while he may not have gotten here on purpose, he's not leaving without a fight.
I can assure you that we'll be running in 2014.
With one senator's retirement and another's sudden death, Hawaii's seniority plunged. Where we once had a combined 72 years in the U.S. Senate, we've only recently passed a combined 72 days. Such is the void with the departure of the 2 Dans. For nearly 4 decades, they served side by side, 2 brothers on the Hill. The same age, though they certainly had their political differences. Senator Daniel Akaka's retirement was no surprise. His choice to leave came down to family.
With our growing family in numbers, I really don't know the little ones, the great-grandchildren. And I need to know them, and they need to know me.
After 36 years in Washington, there were well over 1,000 boxes to ship home and plenty of goodbyes.
I will really miss my colleagues and the leadership there. I will miss trying to help the needs of Hawaii.
As the junior senator packed up, suddenly came this news.
Good afternoon. I'm Paula Akana updating breaking news, the death of Senator Daniel Inouye. Hawaii senior senator died this morning of respiratory complications in Washington.
Senator Daniel K. Inouye, the man who had represented the state since statehood, died in a Washington hospital. His final word, aloha. The memorials were many. First, the coffin of this Medal of Honor recipient would lie in the Capitol Rotunda, an honor usually reserved for presidents. Then a service at the National Cathedral.
I think it's fair to say that Danny Inouye was perhaps my earliest political inspiration.
He would be brought home, honored at the state capitol, where the people he represented for so long lined up late into the night to pay their respects.
I felt really blessed to be here because it was a solemn occasion, and yet there was a celebration of his life and his achievements and all the work that he did for Hawaii. I think everybody here is very appreciative of that.
It was at Punch Bowl, where dignitaries, along with family and old friends, including those who fought with the senator on the battlefields of World War II, gathered for a final farewell.
Whenever there was a difficult job to do, Whenever we needed a noble man to lean on, we turned to Senator Dan Inouye.
He fought like a warrior, but when it was time, he went like the court, with discipline and dignity.
My brother, aloha oi, hui ho.
Now came the critical question: who would take his place? Still ahead, defying a dying wish.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Brian Schatz.
Inside the governor's controversial choice.
I think he really had a sense of who he thought could carry on his legacy.
Senator Inouye's widow weighs in. Then, from friends to political rivals, the possible showdown in 2014.
He did share his thoughts. He shared his thoughts with Irene before he passed away. And in fact, Walter and I delivered those thoughts to the governor on the day that the senator passed away.
In the hours before he died, Senator Inouye was clear. He wanted Colleen Hanabusa to take his place. He even sent a letter to Governor Neil Abercrombie saying just that. The congresswoman told me that she and the senator often talked about succession. He was her political mentor to the very end. But the choice was the governor's, and he had other plans.
Whatever the governor may have done, the bottom line for me is I will always have in my heart the fact that Senator felt strongly enough to write that letter and then to express how he felt.
To many, what the governor did was shocking, defying the wish of arguably Hawaii's most respected lawmaker. Inouye's final request came in a letter to be delivered upon his death.
It's a dramatic gesture. That letter was a dramatic gesture. It's Shakespearean.
On that morning, the visibly shaken governor shared some of the senator's words.
He made clear to me in a communication to me of his love and affection for us all. He said, I represented the people of Hawaii in this nation honestly and to the best of my ability. I think I did okay. I'm sure we all believe he did okay.
The governor had just days to pick Inouye's replacement. Many, including newly elected Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, raised their hands. But the state Democrats narrowed the field to 3, Lieutenant Governor Schatz, Hanabusa, and Department of Land and Natural Resources Deputy Director Esther Kia'aina. Abercrombie went with the unexpected.
I made this decision with the full confidence that Brian's appointment is in the best interests of the party, the state of Hawaii, and the nation.
In the chess game that is politics, the governor's move arguably makes sense.
I think it was much more a kind of strategic decision of the long-term interest of the Democratic Party. Who is a person that we can get in there right now that would add to the competent delegation we already have there?
Were Hanabusa to take Inouye's place, the state would have to hold a special election at an estimated cost of $100 million. And there's no guarantee that a Democrat would win. Republican Charles DeJoux won it before. He could certainly take it again. Still, the governor's decision was bold.
It took some guts on this part, especially the fact that this was basically done during a grieving period. People think differently during a period of grief, and the state was going through a period of grief right when this choice of Schatz was made.
How do you respond to critics who think that the governor, went against a dying man's wish?
Well, I'll let other people sort of analyze how all of that went down. My job is to keep my nose to the grindstone and try to do a good job for the people of the state of Hawaii.
The senator's widow was equally diplomatic, though perhaps more direct.
Well, it was the governor's decision, so I'd rather not comment. I think he really had a sense of who he thought could carry on his legacy, and so we'll see how things work out.
How things work out will have an enormous impact on the delegation and could throw a wrench into the harmony each has pledged to foster. Here's how it works. Schatz only holds the seat until 2014. After that, the voters will choose who fills the remaining 2 years of Senator Inouye's term. Senator Schatz has made clear he wants to stay. Neither Congresswoman Hanabusa nor Gabbard have ruled out a run. In less than a year, 3 of this delegation of 4 could be running for the same seat, each trying to win over the other. Coming up.
Now with the Hawaii delegation that really does not have much seniority, we have to be very creative.
Moving forward, how will these 4 come together? Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa is surrounded by Senator Inouye's presence. Literally, the art in her office, even the fake bamboo in the corner, were all his.
These are pieces that were actually in his official seating room where he greeted many people from Hawaii, and he would tell me that, you need to have good art.
He also taught her how to navigate these grounds, though she is the first to say she wishes she had more time to learn. Senator Inouye was a master at funneling federal dollars to state projects. So good, the Congresswoman says, we're still reaping the benefits.
And what he has been able to do is make sure that Hawaii is okay, at least for the immediate future. So I think that the delegation collectively has a period of time where we still can rely on him, and we will rely on him, and Hawaii will rely on him. But we're not going to have that long a period of time.
That period of time, she estimates a maximum of 2 years before Hawaii truly starts feeling the pinch. Inouye's absence is already felt on the Big Island, where the final phase of the construction on the Saddle Road linking the east and west sides of the island remains unfinished. The job will cost an estimated $50 million. No money has been appropriated for that. Without federal funding, the road simply won't be finished. And after those 2 years of cushion, what will happen to the 5,000 jobs at Pearl Harbor Shipyard, the state's largest industrial employer, or to the researchers at Hawaii Undersea Research Lab? The list is long, the way forward not easy.
Well, I think it's rebuilding relationships. One of the strengths of our congressional delegation was those personal relationships, especially on the Senate side, that are built over a period of time.
Congresswoman Gabbard says given her new appointment as the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, she can help with that.
That's where I see value in the different positions of responsibility that I've been given on the national level to leverage relationships, to build and leverage relationships with people who do have seniority, who can help make sure that we, Hawaii, have a seat at the table as we go forward during this very, very critical time.
Senator Hirono says now is the time to look within.
His chief of staff in Hawaii that everyone knows, Jennifer Goto-Sabas, she spoke at his service.
This is our turn, Hawaii, to step forward and to demonstrate that we have been paying attention and we have been listening to his lifetime lesson on leadership and humanity, because he is watching us.
We're not a dependent people in Hawaii. We are very resourceful. We know that we need to work together in the spirit of ohana.
Forming that ohana is a work in progress.
Is you need to, I think, understand and respect the other person's strengths and recognize your weaknesses. And hopefully one of us will be able to compensate for that. That is an effective delegation.
It's going to be a learning curve, I think. The 4 of you, it'll be very interesting to see.
It will be, and I hope it's a positive, interesting to see.
Coming up, will she or won't she challenge Senator Schatz? And don't count her out. Could these allies soon become contenders? Find out after the break. They vowed to work together, but the delegation could soon go from friends to foes, because in 2014, Senator Inouye's seat will be back on the ballot. Senator Brian Schatz is clear. Now that he has this seat, he intends to keep it.
Is this something that you hope to continue beyond the length of the appointment? Do we see you, and what's the pitch?
Well, we'll develop that over time. I think really what it comes down to is doing the work. The people of Hawaii appreciate leaders who are practical and progressive and work hard and are humble, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
Schatz could see a contender in Congresswoman Gabbard.
You raised your hand for Senator Inouye's seat. Should we take that as an indicator that you're going to run for it at some point?
I am focused on serving now, here, where I am.
Not a yes, but certainly not a no. The more serious challenge for Schatz, Colleen Hanabusa. Remember, she was Senator Inouye's hand-picked successor.
And knowing that that was his wish, do you plan to pursue that seat in the future?
It's always something to consider, and it is honoring his wish.
There is also speculation that she could seek another statewide office.
What about the idea of running for governor? Have you considered that?
You know, people have talked about it, and you know, it's always something that comes about. But again, you know, it's got to be good for Hawaii.
So could all three run against each other?
Each of them has, I think, in mind the Senate as part of their political trajectory. You have Colleen Hanabusa, who really saw herself ultimately as being a U.S. Senator. You had Tulsi Gabbard, who was a real rock star and jumped the line. And then you have Brian Schatz, who's been a good politician, very well known, but jumps into this other sorts of position. So they're all meeting in this one place.
And in that one place could be a political collision. Nothing would be worse for the state Democratic Party than to have these three fight each other, risking 3 seats for 1.
There certainly is going to be some kind of pressure for party unity and party stability, which is going to work against people challenging Schatz. I'm not saying they won't. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying that it gets more complex as time goes on.
Complex may prove to be the operative word as Hawaii's delegates work to find their footing. They speak of the aloha spirit, but will they find it's easier in theory than in reality? Their political legacies and Hawaii's future depends on it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Yunji Denise. We'll see you tonight for KITV4 News at 10.